Hi there, this is Aaron. Today is Sunday the 10th of May and it's day 12 on the allotment. I was here yesterday and the day was really about getting to terms with the horsetail, and there's going to be a few things that I need to say about that through this, because it's going to be an ongoing relationship. I think that's fairly fair to say. We're here today as well, and it's really now getting to the point where I need to start thinking about planting things out. Now, I've always been timing it because our last frost date on average is between the 14th and the 21st of May. So I tend to think about planting things out, you know, sort of around that time, maybe just after. So that last week in May is really when I'm going to be planting things out. And so I've been trying to get things at home so that they're ready for that date. Let's take a look at how I'm doing with that. I'm going to start with the sweet corn. This is sunflowers, and you can see that they're starting to grow up. Now, I've planted sweet corn in all the other modules now that are available now. The first two rows I planted just the sweet corn without having soaked it, and that took 2 weeks to appear. This sweet corn in the next two rows I did soak, and that has appeared within a week. So a week after that, what I've done is I've filled all the others in. Now what I've also done is that there's two here that haven't germinated. I have filled those with some more soaked sweet corn. So what I'm hoping is that now they're going to come thick and fast, because now I think it's just going to be a couple of weeks before I'm going to be ready to plant these out. So I want these to get a move on. But hopefully they are staggered so that they don't all come at once, that there will be some sweet corn and then more and more and more throughout the season, which is what I was after. So that's good. Now, as you can see here, these courgettes are growing up pretty quickly. No sign of the butternut squash, and I don't think there is going to be sign of butternut squash. Also, these are some other sunflowers with smaller heads, and they're coming along. So certainly squash is well underway on here, and sunflowers are well represented as well. So lots to feel good about there. Here's the real story. I planted these beans just a couple of weeks ago, and already they've nearly filled the window. The first two rows nearest to me I think are the Gigante beans, which means the Belotti beans are up the front, and we've had almost perfect germination there. Then I think we've got either the French beans or the Belotti beans, but yeah, one of them has really come through with a vengeance. I've got 4 of the other, and I don't know which is which currently. So what I think I'm going to do is do 4 more of each of the runner beans and the French beans, see which ones they're most like, and just plug the gaps. So I'm going to have 4 left over no matter what, but I think that that's probably the best way to do it, because then I'll have plenty. Now these are my giant pumpkins, and they're starting to grow up. I've got 3 of those now. And I've also got one of the marrows. So Tony, thank you so much for sending that through. One of the marrows have come through. And thank you to Chris as well. So I'm really hopeful that we're going to have some good squashes this year. Now I've repotted on the cucumbers, and pretty soon they're going to be in the same kind of shape as the courgettes. So again, more squashes. So I think we've done all right there. So, as you can see, there's an awful lot of plants that are ready, and an awful lot of ground which is nearly ready, and I just need to make sure that the weather's right so that it doesn't all go to waste. Now, one option, of course, is that I say, you know what, we'll chance it, and put the beans in. It is an option. We may have had the last frost, and as I show you a couple of things, reason why I think we may have had the last frost. But of course we've still got the wind, and today is a really windy day. If it wasn't for the new equipment that I've got, then actually you wouldn't be able to hear me clearly at all with all the wind noise and the popping. So I've got to consider that. I was watching Chris's channel and he said, be careful about wind because, high winds and beans and it's a recipe for disaster. So thanks a lot for that, Chris. I will take that on into consideration and on board. It's really a decision about what to do. Well, let me show you around the rest of the plot and we can see how we've been getting on and why I think some of the things that are due. Now, in amongst the dandelions, you can see a lot of white strawberry flowers. Now, this means that strawberries are on the way. Now, I've had a very good look at these, and they've all got nice, bright, pale yellow centres. None of them have got the black centres. Now, if they had a black centre, that would mean that frost had got to them. Now, what I think that means is that there is no more frost, or there hasn't been any more frost. So one of the questions that I have running through my head is, have we actually had the last frost of the year? Because if we have, then some of the more delicate plants would seem to be getting ready to go out. And this is a good way to tell if you've had the last frost. So I've got a lot of thinking to do as to whether I'll be putting stuff out early or whether I should wait until the end of the month and put it out when I know that I'm safe. It's a decision that I haven't made my mind up about yet, but I'm getting pretty close to, so we'll see what happens. Now, this enormous rhubarb, I arrived here today and I thought, oh, hang on, that's not looking as amazing. And sure enough, round the back I found this enormous flower head. Well, it hadn't flowered yet, but it certainly was going to. And I can see that around the plot there are other large rhubarb like mine that are suddenly getting ready to flower. So I've pulled the flower head off. Now, this is advice from Tony that I saw, so thank you very much, Tony. That he says that if you let it flower, then it's going to die. Whereas if you take the flower head off and then split it at the end of the year, which is what I was going to do anyway, then the plant reacts and says, actually, I'd like to live a little bit longer. So then it will give you rhubarb again next year. So that's what I'm going to do, and that I hope is going to see this rhubarb through. But of course now I've got some sticks that I need to take off because there are still lots of things to make from rhubarb. As I show you the comfrey, this is getting very, very close to being ready to turn into my first batch of comfrey tea. So I'm going to get a container with a tap on it and take Dave's advice and make a concentrated solution rather than putting it into one of the water butts to make a more dilute solution. But I think I'm going to be able to make quite a lot of comfrey tea. So that is a really good feeling. I've managed to get in and give this garlic bed a good weeding. Now, I'm pulling out mare's tail, and there is mare's tail in here, so big decisions needed about that, but at least it's looking a bit tidier, so that's a good thing. I just want to pause for a second and talk to you about this. Now, this is mare's tail. I hope you can get a good look at it. Now, I thought that I had this on the plot, and certainly everybody confirmed it, and so what I've been doing is digging this out. What I've also been doing is researching it as much as I possibly can. And some of you may be saying, well, hang on, it's just another weed. Well, actually it's not just another weed. This weed is older than the dinosaurs, and when the meteor hit the earth that destroyed all of the dinosaurs, there was a piece of this sitting there mocking them for not being tough enough to make it through, because it was. I said last time that the roots on this were 7 foot long. It's more likely 7 meters long, and it goes down. So, I mean, you can't dig down 7 meters. Now, there is an issue with poisoning it because all of this is covered in a waxy substance. That means that liquids just fall straight off it. So an awful lot of liquids that sort of like are quite watery will just fall off of it like rain, and it will have no effect whatsoever. Now, when I broke off this stem, what was left is going to try and grow into another plant. Similarly, if this breaks off and falls in the ground, there's a very good chance that this is going to create another plant. So if you hoe it and you just mangle them, all that you're actually doing is creating loads more mare's tail. So most poisons it's impervious to. It grows like wildfire, and it's been doing this since before humans were even thinking of walking the earth. So that's why it's a really invasive weed. Now, I have seen online that there is a specialist weed killer which seems to be more of a kind of jelly type effect which clings to it and does sort of do more of a job. I don't know if I'm going to use that. Everyone says, well, if you do keep weeding it, then eventually you will weaken it and eventually it will give up, but that's going to take years. So I don't want to poison all of my crops now. What I might do is wait until the end of the season and then give it a treatment in certain areas. In that area, grow potatoes and just throw them away at the end, which would mean that if there was any poison, it would be absorbed into the potatoes. I throw them away so that then I've got clean soil. If I do that in each area at a time, then that means that, of course, I've got less of an area, but it does mean that after a few years I will have no mare's tail. So that is starting to sound like the strategy to use. I guess we'll find out how effective it is, but it's certainly a long-term investment to get rid of this stuff. What you can see here is that the comfrey is starting to flower. Now, ideally I should have caught this a day or two before, but I haven't. But now that the comfrey is flowering, this is the point where I'm going to cut it down. And I'm going to put it in a container with some water, and then I'm going to start to make the comfrey tea. So the fertilizer experiment starts now. Well, now that the comfrey's flowering, it's time to do the first chopping down of it. So I've got some containers here, and I'm going to be putting the comfrey in them to break down. I want to get a couple of containers that are sort of that have also got a tap, but I haven't got those yet, and the comfrey's ready, and I certainly don't want to leave this any longer because this will spread like wildfire. So comfrey tea is on its way. This is going to stink to high heaven. One of the things that I did see just before I came out was Nigel Muddy Boots' video that he did of the Malvern show. And what was really interesting is that he met up with Mick Palfrey. And Mick said that if you're going to make comfrey tea, don't make it with tap water. Now, I have these rain barrels here that have been gathering rainwater, oddly enough. And so that's what I'm going to use to make my comfrey tea. So hopefully this means that all the nice microbes in there won't be killed by sort of chlorine and calcium and all the things they add to tap water. Well, I showed you the beans, and that's in a week, and they've put on another 1.5 foot. Now what that means is that I can't legitimately leave those on the windowsill anymore. They've got to go in. Now it may still be very early. We've had the last frost earlier this week. There is no more frost. So I might get away with this. But it's definitely a chance, but it's a chance we're going to have to take. Now here we have a return of my wigwam frames. Each wigwam this year has got 7 canes in it, and what I do is I join the wigwams together with a bar across the top. Now this has all been held together with string and also cable ties, which meant that it's gone up a little bit quicker this year. But in previous years this has been a pretty good structure and does stand up against the wind, whereas I've seen a lot of cordons and munty frames fall down. So what I'm hoping is that we're going to continue with that good luck this year, and so that my beans that go in will climb up these and then they'll climb across the top, and then we'll have a wall of beans. So I better get planting. Well, here I have planted out my beans. I think these are the Borlotti beans. Now I'll look this up, but I think these are the runner beans. I think these are the French beans, and I think that these are the Greek giganti beans. Now I have to say that I am really not impressed with these root trainers. Yeah, they say, oh yes, it makes the roots grow down, but then, yeah, when you're trying to get these out of these things, you're disturbing the roots. I think I did so much better with the toilet rolls last year. So I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be doing root trainers again next year, or if I will in fact go back to toilet rolls. They were all too big. Some of them have drooped over, some of them have got sort of kinks in the stem now, which means that I think some of them are going to die. I mean, all of them needed to be hardened off, but I wasn't able to do that. I think it's just a bit of a mess really, and I'm expecting to have to do all this again. I've given them a good water in, but we'll see what tomorrow brings and if any of them survive. But, oh well, I know next year, don't start too early. Wait a bit, wait and probably until mid-May now to plant them as seeds, not planting them out. But, well, you live and learn. And so that's it, it's getting towards the end of the day now. There's plenty to be getting on with, and I think that another week and I'll have everything there. We've just got to knuckle down. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time on The Allotment. Goodbye.